Hello, everybody. It's your Friday Night Paranormal Fix. It's myself, Damon Penny, joined by the Paranormal Power Couple. And tonight, we're going to crazy your mind with the conspiracy theory. We're going to send you into orbit as we explore the moon landings.
Welcome to The Other Dimension with the team, Damon Penny, Ben Winfield, and Louisa Brown. We guide you through the supernatural, the occult, and the unexplained, answering questions that will make you question your grip of reality, with special guests guiding you through everything from demons to divination, cryptids to crystals, religion to skeptics. We explore in depth the true meaning of the unexplained. So strap in, kick back, and enjoy as we enter the other dimension.
And the crowd go wild. Here we're back. It's Friday night. It's time for the TOD in the building. Myself and the Paranormal Power Couple. The Winfields in the building. Make some noise.
I think one of the puppies is making noise.
Oh, what is wrong with me? I tell you, I swear, I get crazier and crazier every week. I'll tell you what, it's Ben's fault. He puts these ideas in my head, right, that we're showing something, and I spend like a whole week, because bear in mind, I live in my work van, so I spend the whole week listening to conspiracies about it, and then when I get on the show, my head just explodes.
Oh, you want to go for it?
Right. Roll call. If you want your name shouted out, get your name up in the chat. Shouts out to Kate, out to Freda W, out to all the TOD presenters, out to the Scarlet Witch. When our last Wednesday show, good. Don't forget she'll be live this Wednesday. Freda, stick up in the chat what you're doing this week so we can give them a little heads up. Big shouts out to Craig William Longson.
How we're doing?
How's everybody been? Well, Lou, what have you got in your hand?
Oh, I've got a coconut. Well, a coconut cup.
It looks like a genetically modified egg cup.
Coconut cup.
Oh, this is you get ready for the trip that you've got coming, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, I do it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Oh dear. So tonight we are talking about the conspiracy, right, of the moon landings. Did they go to the moon or didn't they go to the moon? Or is there something other? Is there some other thing there? Now, I know in the description I wrote up that one of us will be doing a U-turn, so I may as well come out and me that I'm doing a U-turn on my whole decision, because the other week I turned around and said they didn't land on the moon. Now, after listening to probably what is close to 22 hours of podcasts on the moon landings, conspiracies, I have changed my mind. I do believe they landed on the moon. So
come over to the dark side.
Yes, I have come over to the other side. Don't forget, Wednesday, Freda will be talking about things you didn't realise were actually pagan. So that's going to be a cool show. She'll be live this Wednesday at the Witch's Closet. Talking of, when did you get out of the closet and tell everyone you're a witch?
I missed what you said. Sorry, I paid attention.
No, I'm joking. Right.
You say, when are you going to come out of the closet and tell everyone that you're a baby witch?
You're an online demonologist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's £75 an hour to do online consultation to get rid of all your demons. How about that?
Yeah. And then when the person who wrote the course has to mention your name in a write-up to state that you are a professor of demonology, just adds that extra salt into the wound.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I thought we'd start off with some really cool facts to do with the moon. These are things that I've learned. Now,
cheese.
Yes, it's made of cheese, Swiss cheese. Oh no, blue cheese, isn't it? That was what I used to say.
Blue cheese, yeah.
Yeah, the moon's made of blue cheese, and a little mouse lives in it, and that he eats it, and that's why you get half a moon. No. Facts. Did you know, right? I didn't know this until I was listening to all these things. The moon doesn't actually spin.
What's known as tidal lock.
Yes. it's what they call an ecliptical rotation of the globe. And at any point, anyone that actually lives on Earth and looks up, you only ever see 41% of the surface of the moon. True story.
Oh.
Oh, see, I did learn a few things this week.
You get an A star and a sticker.
Yes, thank you. Here's something other cool. When NASA were preparing to the Apollo 11 to go to the moon, they spent the equivalent of what the Russians spent building a rocket, trying to reverse engineer a pen to take into space. When the Russians said, "Why don't you just take a pencil?"
Pretty much.
When I heard that, man, I literally wet myself. That is absolutely brilliant.
Here's another random fact for you.
Go ahead, mate.
The moon's surface is mainly made up of a chemical called hydrogen-3. If it is stripped of oxygen, would provide the planet with enough oxygen for a couple of billion years. What also will make you interested is if you were to take a spark to hydrogen-3 after chemically splitting it, it would create an explosion so powerful that it would rip the moon and Earth pieces and unbalance the entirety of the solar system.
It is crazy. Like they were so saying, as I said to you before the show, there is virtually no water on the moon. There is 0.0002% actual water on the moon, and there is an average of 13 asteroids that collide with the moon every month. Now, it's almost like a shield for us.
That and Jupiter.
Yes. Let's do one more quick shout out before we move on to some scientific stuff. Big shouts out to Jeanette Bean, out to Ems Hayden. Shout out to Kate. Oh, we've got Kate questions coming, haven't we?
Jess
Right.
as well. What's it? Big boom.
And if anybody else is interested in like the phases of the moon, and that's not helpful. It phases of the moon and different planets and stuff for various reasons. You want that app? It's called Daft Moon. Oh, it's kind of reflecting on the thing, but yeah, DAFF Moon. It's really good.
Is that the one that you use? Because right, yeah, there's actually 13 months in the year, because the old school, like back in the day, used to live by the lunar cycle, which is only 27 days or 26 days. So basically, what people don't realize is now we're living on a 12-month sort of yearly thing. We're actually working for a month completely free.
Yep.
It's nuts. I'm gonna.
If you get paid full weekly,
Sorry, sweetie.
you get paid twice in October.
No, just jump up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
crazy.
Right,
Now, I know Ben likes his science stuff, right? I researched the origin of the moon. Now, there is two scientific stories to the moon. Number one being that back before humans even existed, the moon was just regurgitated from the Earth. It's just part of the Earth that was regurgitated out of it, almost as if you ate I don't know, a dough ball, and you swallowed it whole, and then it comes up, like that sort of thing. So the moon is a regurgitated from the Earth, and the other one is it's actually an orange pill and it's hollow.
Yeah, there's on the scientific side, the moon was made up of a mixture of the Earth and another planet that collided with the Earth in the early days of formation. I can't remember the name of the bloody planet, but it said that it collided with Earth.
Yeah, and it collided, and it's a hollow planet. Now, there are conspiracy theories out there that the moon's hollow. It's a secret space station or military base that we built in case of Independence Day. To be honest with you, that theory sort of goes hand in hand with the whole flat Earth thing to me.
Yeah.
I don't see that ever working. But we're talking about the moon landings. Now, did they happen? Didn't they happen? Now, you'll come across conspiracy theories. It was shot in a film studio, produced by Steven Spielberg. And what's the other guy's name that done Space Odyssey 2001? What was his name? I have his name on the end of my tongue. One of the chat will put it up in a minute.
Yeah, someone will fire up.
Yeah, yeah, and because these connections with the what do they call them, the 1%, the 12, Majestic 12, something to do with that. He was part of it. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Now, there are a lot of things that sort of make you think that it was shot in a studio. For instance, the fact of the whole signal thing. You do know that the moon landings were broadcast to Australia, didn't you? And then relayed to America.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the time when the moon landings happened, which I think was late 60s, early 70s, wasn't it? 74, something like that. Something like that.
Even come on, you've been doing like conspiracy theories and you don't even remember the date.
The date's not important.
Then why bring it up?
Even I'm trying to remember. I think it's 74.
Right.
I'm sure it was 74. It could have been 72. But yeah, so at this time, they didn't even have Wi-Fi in airplanes. So people question how they got the signal back to Earth. Now, there are theories that it was shot and pre-recorded. If you ever want to watch a documentary that sort of goes into details about the signals and the broadcasts, because supposedly it was scripted, and there were like lost tapes that talk about Neil Armstrong saying something to the camera, and then the Houston relays back and says, we will review this when we go live. There is a French documentary called Dark Moon, if you want to check that out, and it talks about all these things to do with the broadcast that happened. Now, wow, my head is full of so much. Now,
yeah, Kate and Lou both jumped on it. Well, Lou found it first. 69 moon landings, both out.
Didn't they? And supposedly, from what I've heard and what I've been listening to this week, there are on the bright side of the moon, there is a complex mirrors they put there to help bounce signals around the Earth.
No, there's supposed to be a mirror on the light side with a laser that is pointed at it from NASA, that they can track on how far the moon is the distance, because the moon is supposedly
coming closer
into rotation. It's leaving
the laser ranging.
That's the one.
Stuff.
Yeah, because it is slowly orbiting outwards away from us.
Stanley Kubrick. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh my God! If you ever want to deep dive into conspiracies, guys, check out something called The Kubrick Code, written by Isaac Weishaupt. I've got his book up there. Holy crap! That would just literally blow you out of the water. Stanley Kubrick was just insanely nuts, and supposedly because he made the film The Shining or something. It's supposedly an apology to the world that he faked the moon landings. Can't see it myself. Can't see it. No, really can't see it. There's a lot of stuff within the conspiracy of the moon landings that literally grips on straws. Like I was just talking about it for the show. Now, the go-to thing for people when they talk about the moon landings not being real is the flag waving in the wind. Now, I'll let Lou explain to you why the flag looks like it's waving in the wind, but it isn't.
Got an extra rod.
Yes.
Hang on. Yeah. So you've got your pole, your main pole, but if you look at the photo closely, there's another pole going horizontal to hold the flag out. And the reason why it looks like a bit like it might be waving is just because it was simply stuffed in packaging. So it's just not been ironed.
No one took an iron up.
Yep. They took a hammer and a feather to see the drop test, but they didn't take an iron. And they took a really expensive pen as well. So
they also took wine, cheese, and bread, and a few other things.
Yeah. So people go to
conspiracy all onto itself.
They had a picnic on the moon. Who is filming it though? So, well, see, the thing is, Kate, what they say is you only actually see Lance Armstrong once, and he's supposed to be doing the filming or something to do with that. I don't know, but look, the thing that conspiracy theorists turn to, there's two things that they turn to mainly. Number one is the flag. Now that was debunked ages ago. The flag was bought from Sears. They even had a receipt for it. It's just got an extra pole in it. And the number two is, I don't know if anyone's actually seen the videos for the Apollo 11 landing. You won't ever see the original ones because some knobhead at NASA actually recorded over the original one. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. Did you just say Lance Armstrong?
Neil Armstrong. Lance Armstrong was the guy thingy, weren't he? Yeah, I know that. I was just testing if you were still awake.
If anyone was watching, you'll see. If anyone is watching back or wants to watch back, you'll see the point where my brain clicks and I suddenly go, "What?"
Wow, I'm on form tonight, man. If you ever watch the landings back, there's a point where they're actually filming inside the rocket, for instance, and they're taking a snapshot of the Earth. But the way they do it is they do something within filming. It's called cheating. It's when you move the perception of the camera forward or backwards to make things look larger or smaller, or to get them more in focus at the front or back. Now, at this point, the crew at the Apollo 11 are moving the camera back from the capsule so they can capture the window and see the Earth at a certain angle. And while they're doing this, they accidentally turn the light on, and there is a part where they're sort of saying like, apologies to Houston, just cut this out when you send it live. So then once again, you've got the news presenter saying that this is a live feed, but they're talking about actually putting it. So it could be, I just think they're clutching at straws. Like, from actually listening to all this, I think they land on the moon. But the question is now, once the crew of the Apollo 11 actually come back from the moon, it was said that they hit a state of depression. They were drinking a lot. Now, conspiracy theorists put this down to the fact of, they lied and they didn't go to the moon. It was shot in the studio. I don't think so. I think what Ben said the other week about what they saw up there.
Yeah. If you look at the photo, or look at the recording of them talking about how it all went that lot, where they sat on a desk. There's the three of them sat there being interviewed.
Yeah.
Now, this is helped increase that sort of ideology of it. If you look at Richard Branson and his crew when they went up into space and whatever the Virgin,
yeah, they hit the atmosphere, didn't they?
Yeah, I can't remember what they called it. They went up into space. They were up there for a while, and they come back down. The people were ecstatic. They were happy. They just achieved something that no other person had ever achieved. They were thrilled. You look at these three guys that come back from the moon. They look like their world, their whole understanding of everything has just been utterly shattered.
Yeah.
Now, if you were three people that have just achieved the greatest momentum of the human race, you are going to be buzzing like mad. You are not going to look like you have just, everything you've realised in life has just crumbled around you.
Well, maybe they think, what have they got to do now? That's it. They've done all they've ever set out to do, and they've come back, and it's just like, we are really insignificant. What's the point? I've got nothing else to go for.
Yeah, but then you get it with everyone else.
But no,
you look at Felix when he jumped out of the pod. For those that
Richard Felix jumping out of a pod?
No, Felix.
I thought Lance Armstrong was bad.
His name, I can't remember his last name, but his first name was Felix. He was the Red Bull parachuter that jumped out of the capsule right at the edge of space. Yeah. I was sad. I sat and watched the whole thing.
Yeah, because
the 8-hour ascent in the balloons.
The flat earthers use that as proof that the Earth is flat because they reckon they use the fisheye lens when they done that.
But okay, anyone that ever watches this from like in the future or now or whenever, if you genuinely think that, please come to my house and let me slap you.
But it's funny you mentioned the interview when they were completely they were shocked. There's a part of that interview, I've watched it, where the guy, I can't remember his name, but he used to present that program back in the 70s. It was called The Skies Above. He was like a astrologist, and he's massive.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
he had a monocle.
Write down the names of people that you're trying to speak about.
He had a monocle, and I can't remember the name of him.
but he stands up at the
So
press.
what's it more?
Yeah.
He stands up at the press conference and he says to them, "You being that far out and being that far away from the Earth, which star constellations did you see?" Now, it was at this point that all three of the astronauts looked completely shocked, and their answer to that was, "We don't actually recall seeing any stars." Now, if you are, bear in mind, big shout out to everyone in the chat room, at Debs Harris, at Days Will Squad, at to the net, at Colour Pinkish. Sorry guys, we're deep in conversations. We are there. Got any questions, hit them, and when we get to them, we'll get to them. Now,
Patrick Morgan.
that's it. He stood up and asked the question. We all know the reason that in London you can't see the stars at night is because of light pollution. There's too much light on the ground for it to be seen. Now, there are people that sit there and say that the moon is a massive mirror that reflects light so bright that you can't. But there is no light pollution there. The sun isn't light pollution; it's organic. So you would think that being on the moon, they would at least turn the camera upwards so you can see the stars. Or take a telescope up there to be able to see things that we couldn't see from Earth. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it begs the question: if they stars, what do they see?
Yeah, you see, this is where you've got this small transmission that was said between Neil Armstrong and he stands by this, which is really, really strange. You think someone in his position wouldn't. He stands by the fact that he said there was things up there watching us.
Yes.
And do you know what? This is going to really confuse you. The most UFO sightings ever happen on the surface of the moon.
Yes.
Amateur astrologists and everything.
So yeah, I've got a response answers to like why you don't see the stars, like why you don't see the stars up there, and like why the not the camera, and why like in the photo you can't see any stars.
Yeah.
The astronauts and the lunar landscape. This is done by a scientist at a space place. I can't remember. I'll scroll back up and find him in a minute.
Okay.
Oh, puppy. Yeah, both the astronauts and the lunar landscape itself are brightly lit by the sun. The sky may look black, but remember, this seems there was no, stop sniffing. It's taken what would just. Oh, what's that? Puppies. Right, come on. Puppy's trying to drink my Malibu and pineapple. Right. Anyway, yeah. So when they were there, it was kind of like their kind of daytime. Obviously, we have our daytime, and due to where the sun is in the sky, where they were, it would be the daytime on the moon kind of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, like we do, if we're going to take a photo of a brightly lit scene, your camera's shutter speed needs to be fast, and your aperture needs to be really small. And so in that situation, faint objects like stars aren't going to show up.
No, but there is the argument that the development of NASA, they took the camera they took up there had something called FDOS technology, which means that the camera aperture would shut so tightly that it wouldn't allow any light through.
This is what the National Space Centre Discovery Director, Professor Anu Ojha, said.
He's
like different conspiracy theories.
He's probably some sort of Freemason living along a script, so don't worry about it.
I will say one thing. People tend to forget about NASA. NASA is a branch of the US military.
It is, yes.
People tend to forget that.
Mm-hmm.
Got a long ass comment here.
Yeah, I was just reading that because there's. I was reading something about it. Do you want to stick it out? Could it be possible?
Just condense it.
Chemical reaction in the brain. I mean, like on a full moon, there is chemicals pulled to the brain which causes a motion shift. Do you not think because they were a lot close to being on it, the chemical pull is stronger, and they came back, they hit a state of depression because there was no longer close to the moon? Does this make sense? Sort of hard to explain. Right, I just want to throw a couple of things out there. Right, a couple of things that I found out that I honestly believe are true, but they're not. Number one, we know that the moon affects tidal cycles. Yeah, when the moon's at a certain phase, the tide goes out, tide goes in. A lot of people put this onto the fact that because our bodies are mainly made up of water, this can affect our moods. It's complete rubbish. There's not enough the body, it doesn't, it's not affected by the moon. I've seen the scientific background on it. It's rubbish. And the other one, that women's cycle goes with the moon, like menstrual cycle goes with the moon, another load of crap. It's actually rubbish.
No, we've got proof in this house.
It might be different in the house, but scientifically it's been disproven. It's just because most menstrual cycles run in a 27-day cycle, and because the moon runs in a 27-day cycle, it's coincidence. So with Jessica's comment, it could be. Now,
yeah, you can get what? Oh, sorry, the lag happens again.
It's I don't think it's to do with the moon itself. Now, what people don't realize is with the Antarctic, when it produces, because it's so cold, when it hits the atmosphere, it produces something called a Van Halen belt. This is a belt of radiation that actually surrounds our atmosphere. Now, when the astronauts went up into towards the moon, they had to go through this Van Halen belt. This would cause them to, this could be the reason why they were depressed when they come back, because of the way the body reacts to the radiation at the Van Halen belt. So I think that's more of a possibility than the fact that the moon had some sort of effect on their mental health. What's that comment?
She's going by.
Oh, all right, okay, no problem. See you soon.
See you later, Kate. No, what you can get when it comes to the thing is with the what you're on about with the moon is it's a different reaction that people think. With the moon cycles, you get is it got nicknamed the werewolf syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That people become more emotionally hyper aggressive during a full moon period, because when you go back in time, well, going back ancient times, we used to hunt at night and sleep during the day.
Yeah.
So that aggression is still there, tied into our DNA. When there's a full moon, we see more light out, so our body reacts thinking that it's daytime. So we become more hyper emotionally on the aggressive side.
Yeah.
This is why, funnily enough, this is why police will always put extra police on when there is a full moon.
Yeah. Also, did you know that there was a place in China where they actually, to save money on electric, they got rid of all the street lights and they actually created their own false moon to light over the night time. But it turns out it didn't emit enough light and crime rate went up. That's why they stopped doing it. It was against the Chinese government as well. So I don't know what that's about. But yeah, I mean, the Van Halen belt does explain what could have affected their mental health. Or was it the fact that they saw what some conspiracy theorists call the mothership? Supposedly there is an alien ship that darts around our solar system, and
it's supposed to be locked on the dark side of the moon, so we can't pick it up and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that would go hand in hand with the fact we only see 41% of the moon, if you like, the face of the moon at any one time. And Pink Floyd obviously got it right when they wrote their album. So, but were the moon landings real? Yeah, I think they were. All right, okay, they probably weren't. Probably what you were receiving wasn't a live feed. And look, I don't care what anyone says. Now, it's proof nowadays, right? When you take a photo, 9 times out of 10, you will doctor that photo to make it look better. Yeah. Now, this is something that was watched by hundreds and hundreds of thousands and millions of people because it was a human feat. They are going to doctor it somehow to make it look better. So yeah, you might have not been seeing a live feed, but it doesn't mean they didn't go to the moon. What's Sarah saying? I understand there is no scientific proof to an emotional attachment to the moon, but I ran pubs for 35 years and I beg to differ with science.
Got a point.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not saying it doesn't affect.
You know, as well. You've opened a can of worm here, mate. You're getting beaten by everyone. Yeah.
But what people don't realise is
yes, having periods on full moon is an actual thing. There's a whole sort of thing behind it, scientifically backed. And there's also a study into planting as well, which is a completely different subject, but planting around the full moon.
I'm going to leave you to this.
Do you know coral inside the sea only grows at a full moon? There you go. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the moon doesn't affect the way people are, but I don't think I think it's more subconscious and more psychosomatic than anything else. Like,
what about plants then, Damon?
What about what?
Plants, obviously they don't have the same kind of conscious thought as we do, but the moon can have different effects on the plant.
Because they have different cells to us. A plant cell is
Let's find
completely
it.
different to the way that a human cell is. The way that-
In Italy, there's a belief that the moon has an effect on the growth of a plant. It's widespread amongst farmers and gardeners. Specifically, it's believed that everything that grows above the ground, like lettuce, spinach, cabbage, etc., should be planted on a waxing moon, and everything that grows underground, like carrots, potatoes, turnips, on a waning moon.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it doesn't affect plant life because, like I said, Jeff, they have a different cell structure to what we have. So the water retention within a plant cell is completely different to the water retention within a human cell. Different nucleus, different makeup. I'm just saying that I think that people, I think it's psychosomatic the way that it controls. You know what I mean? Like, there's been so many things over the years. You know, we have werewolves and we have don't go out on a full moon on. I just think it's psychosomatic. I think people think that it affects them, and it does. I don't think it actually scientifically affects them in any way, shape, or form.
But who nowadays really keeps track of the moon apart from, like, say, witches and stuff? Like your general people, they won't really. They'll just like notice maybe now and then. But people don't look up anymore. People don't look outside anymore. People are too busy playing, like watching things, playing on Xbox, that kind of stuff. They don't really take much notice of everything that's going on around them.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying
It's after your blood now.
I think the moon itself has high spiritual value to the subconscious, very high spiritual value. A lot of old religions use the moon a lot, so I think it has very high spiritual value, but I don't think it has an effect on the body scientifically in any way. Jeanette, I think I'm okay, but apparently Kev watches what he says to me around full moons. No, it's because you're a werewolf, Jeanette, secretly. I worked in a care home and residents were bad-tempered on a full moon. Or could it just be coincidence? Could it just be that they had really bad tomato soup that night and that's why they're really, really ill-tempered? I just don't see it myself. I don't see it affecting. Scientifically, it makes no sense. And the body, even though it's said that it's made up of mostly water, it's not to a degree that it can be affected by the moon's gravitational pull, because that's why supposedly it affects us. The whole theory is that it's the gravitational pull because it has its own gravity, doesn't it? It has its own
For the moon to affect the water in the body, the gravitational pull would have to be to that degree that it would actually rip your body apart.
Yeah, exactly.
But on a psychosomatic level, there is.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I just literally stood there when Lou read out about that NASA professor, and I was like, yeah, he's probably Majestic 12. I know, but I don't know. I think you have to be open-minded to a degree. Now, with the moon landings, you have to be open-minded to a degree. You can sit there and listen to the conspiracy theorists that sit there and say, the flag was waving in the wind, or Neil Armstrong left no footprints in the thing. But didn't the Mars rover clock the moon on the way past, and they clocked the landing site? There's still tracks from the lunar module there.
Yeah.
You can't refute stuff like this. Okay, it could have been made up in the studio. In fact, if you actually look at it this way, the easiest way to look at it is that if you watch the moon landings, this happened we established in 1972. There was a film
69.
made.
Oh my god.
We both got it wrong.
It was made in 1969, right? So if you look at the footage shot in 1969, the moon landings, and then you watch a film, can't remember what it was called, but there was a film made in 1990 about the moon landings, and look at the CGI effects on that. They look worse in 1990 than they did back in 1969. So did they actually have the technology to be able to shoot the moon landings back in 1969? I don't know. I don't think so.
So I've always stuck by the theory that they went up, but everything that we've seen, be it the photos, the live feed, all that lot, is all fake. Because they went up and they saw something, and it was we're not going to discuss this at the present moment in time.
No.
Because a lot of people forget the Russians went up at the exact same time.
Yes, they did.
And they landed on the dark side, and even they've never shown any evidence whatsoever of what they saw. No one showed anything.
They celebrated the Americans landing on the moon. I think that was more of like sort of to defer the fact that they land on there and what they see. Do you see what I mean? So it is. I don't know. Is it? They did go there. They had to have go there. There is proof that they've been there. NASA in itself, the amount of I mean, you've got the theorists out there that say if it was fake, how did they get everybody to sit there and keep a secret? But then if you look at the Manhattan Project in itself, you know, where they developed the atom bomb, there was 119,000 people that worked on the Manhattan Project, and not one of them gave away the secret. Yeah. So it is possible. You know what I mean? Like, because if they would have got it out of secret, the Manhattan Project, the development of the atom bomb, then China would have seen it coming. You know, they would have developed something. So if 119,000 people can keep something like that a secret, then there is a chance they can keep it secret about the moon landings. What's Sarah? Sarah saying, I do believe we went to the moon in 1969, but I'm sure there was something that they didn't want to share. Yeah,
a lot of people are under that assumption now.
It was they didn't want to share the cheese and wine. That's what it was. their lunar picnic. Jessica saying, just a joke. Do you think they saw Wallace and Gromit eating cheese and crackers? Yeah, and good old Sean was sitting there having a chomp as well.
I'll explain the wine and cheese bit. So the idea is when they went up, obviously Neil Armstrong, for those of you who probably don't know, he is a Freemason.
Mm-hmm.
He was quite a high up Freemason. So was
Buzz. Yeah.
Now, when they were in the cab waiting to come out, it was said that they broke bread and performed a Freemason ritual before they'd left the pot.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the joke about cheese and wine comes from when it comes to the moon, if you ever hear anyone on that.
It does. Oh, Joe, I tell you what, right? This is what cracks me up as well. I was listening to, I don't know if anyone knows, have you ever heard of a guy called Joe Rogan? He's like a massive podcaster, conspiracy guy, and his following is like millions.
Yeah, I know you're on about.
He was doing a show on the moon conspiracy and on the moon, and his main one that he went with was the fact that there was no crater left there after they had left the moon. Now, I find this is a guy who has the greatest following when it comes to conspiracies. He has the best guests on his show, and he didn't actually realize that they're not going to take off from the moon using jet fuel. They're going to use dispersed chemicals that ain't good. Like you said, the moon's made of hydrogen-3. So if they would have blasted off with jet fuel, they would have destabilized the solar system.
Yeah.
So it just shows the progression of what people will go to. It's more using facts to fit a story rather than explaining the story using facts.
Yeah. On a level of escaping the moon, you could quite easily sit on a fire extinguisher and fire that off and you'd escape the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
The gravity is not that strong.
Oh, did you know that when they went up to the moon, they developed the pole that they developed to put the flag on? They actually believed there was going to be 3 foot of soft sand, like material, lunar material. And when they got out and they stuck the pole in the floor, it was only literally about 30 centimeters. So that's prop out with lunar rocks.
The whole atmosphere is one solid mass. They don't realize. A lot of people don't realize about the moon. Like I say, everyone thinks it's dusty. It's not. It's got a very, very small amount of dust. A lot of it is solid hydrogen-3 rocks.
Yeah.
Iron. The moon's core is solid iron.
Yeah. And they're not rocks as we would see, you know, like we get rocks on Earth, which are perfectly round or they're smoothed over, because that's something that happens over time, like the sedimentary period where it's battered by weather and other things, and they round off. The moon rocks are literally like whatever breaks off when the meteorites hit the moon.
Pretty much.
But I thought we would open the floor to the listeners and tell us what they think and the reasons why they think that whether they did or didn't land on the moon, if they've got any questions about or conspiracy theories they've heard, and see if we can, because me and Ben and Lou, we're the sort of people, if we hear something and it makes sense, we will run with it and we'll research it and then we'll go with it. Now, when it comes to researching the moon landings, I went in there for the first ever with a slanted opinion. I was like, they didn't land on the moon. It was all a complete fallacy for them to make money, because at the time they just had the Vietnam War, JFK had been assassinated, Richard Nixon had been put into power, they needed the money, so it was all this big thing to create money. And after hearing all the evidence, I just personally think that they did went to the moon. It's just things that they discovered out there that we will never ever know.
I always stick by that, and it's surprising when you explain to people or say, just go watch this, the amount of people that suddenly change their opinion and go, you know what, we went up there, we're not allowed to know what we found.
Yeah, 100%. Sarah says, I do find it strange that the moon rang like a bell when the lunar module was crashed into it. Yeah, there are theories based around this. Like Ben said, the core of the core of the moon is supposed to be solid iron. Now, there are theories that it's not solid, that it's a dome in itself, and the lunar rocks that are built up around it have been built up over time after meteorites hitting it. And that's why it rang like a bell when it hit, because there is no atmosphere, sound. It's a big scientific explanation over it that I cannot remember off the top of my head, but there is an explanation why it rang like a bell. Ben probably knows the answer to this, but he's just sitting there.
I can't remember. I generally can't remember. It was one of the moon landings were one of the first conspiracies I got into.
Yeah, because you love space stuff, don't you? Yeah, it's cool though, because when you actually think about it, like the new space race is who can get to Mars first now.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why they suddenly stopped after the moon landings.
I see. That's that. When we talk about humans going for the most crazy explanation of things, I think it's just a simple explanation. You know, I've been there, done that. What's next?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Sorry, what did you ask about? I'm looking at one thing.
They went to the moon and then suddenly decided that we're not going to carry on going any further.
Yeah, I have answered for that.
You're going to tell me budgeted.
Hang on. Bear with, guys. Bear with.
A lot of people made it up that it was to do with budgeting.
So, blah, blah. Apollo 17, the last Apollo mission to land astronauts on the moon, took place in 72. That's probably where you're getting mixed up with the dates. Since then, they've never returned. Apollo 17 wasn't meant to be the end of the story. Throughout the 70s, there were ambitions to establish a permanent lunar base before turning to the next project, Exploration Mars, but it never happened. This was down to geopolitics. The answer is we changed our priorities. Oja said, Oja quite pronounced name says, from a combination of the Vietnam War, but there was also this geopolitical element of thinking. We've won the race just as we got good at doing science on the moon, we abandoned it. Instead, attention turned to the space shuttle program and later the International Space Station, which has been permanently inhabited by teams of astronauts since the 2000s. That's what's on that.
The full scope of the BS, basically.
Yeah. And
why would you go to the destination and then suddenly retract and build a bus stop?
Yeah, it makes sense. Sort of, in a weird way. Now, I didn't even realise, the whole Apollo 13 film that Tom Hanks was in was actually based on a true story. I didn't even know that. I thought it was a film. I didn't know that. See, this is how sheltered I am.
I'll give you a conspiracy to go for a run with as well.
Go on then.
Check out all the names of the shuttles from the beginning to the end.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, because they were the ones before the Apollos. They were called something else. Because JFK turned around and said that his dream. It's a national emergency that they make it to the moon, and it was to beat the Russians, obviously, because they had the Cold War. That was blatantly obvious. But I can't remember the name. I swear it began with an N. The ones that I can't remember.
Honestly, because if you think we had the Explorers, we had the Challengers, we had the Neptunes, the Apollos. Honestly, if you line up all the names of the different ones, that's a conspiracy unto itself.
Ah, okay. I have to look into that. Antoinette saying she loves Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. The guy is an amazing podcaster. If you ever want to check out a Joe Rogan one that's got absolutely nothing to do with conspiracy, just an amazing interview, check out Joe Rogan's interview with Mike Tyson. It is amazing. He actually had to have a separate table built for the studio because Mike Tyson was so big. It's hilarious. It's brilliant. Joe Rogan is a really good show. And if you want to check out any other sort of conspiracy podcasts, go and check out a friend of mine. He does a podcast. It's available on all podcasting places, Amazon, podcasts on your mobile, called The Conspiracy Guys. It's a bunch of Irish guys that literally spend 4 hours talking about one conspiracy and just have a complete laugh. And it's amazing. Go and check them guys out because they are brilliant. But I mean, moon landings in themselves, yeah. But we haven't come to the conclusion of what they've seen. Now, what could they have seen when they're out there? Now, there is the conspiracy that they saw the mothership. There's a conspiracy that they saw the aliens. There's a conspiracy that there's also like this mad conspiracy that they actually saw nothing. That the sky that we see, the stars that we see, are an actual projection. And that one does blow my mind a bit because that space is supposed to be a vacuum. So is there stars out there, or is this something that? Because you got to remember, there's only there's a matter of is it 3 or 6 people that have actually been to the moon?
I think it's more than that. I think it's about 10.
But and obviously people have been out to space who have been to the International Space Station, ISS, as well. And they have, I was reading that they have some sort of 12. There you go. They've been sworn to complete secrecy to tell people what they see while they're out there. So could the sky that we see be a projection? I don't know. Maybe
there's a hell of a lot of UFO sightings that come from the International Space Station. A lot.
With all the technology they've got to go to space.
It makes you wonder. I am always under the assumption that there is more there than we are allowed to know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I took a complete U-turn on the whole moon landing thing. It's something it's the first time in history since I've made my mind up and then completely changed it. Like it is a little bit crazy for me. It takes me ages to decide anything, even down to I'm getting my tattoos finished my birthday, and I've been looking now for 2.5 years for the perfect tattoo. It is crazy. For me to make a U-turn is a big thing, but the evidence is there that they did go to the moon. Ain't there something about the lunar module that they land in, the actual because it broke off, didn't it, to enter into Earth's atmosphere?
Yeah.
And the shield that protects them from the Earth's atmosphere is no thicker than tinfoil.
Yeah, they still use it to this day. It's gold tinfoil, which also brings into correlation the Anunnaki theory.
Yes.
Of casting gold.
Yes, it does.
Everything slowly starts to link in, and it starts to make you wonder what's cracking up.
Yeah, I think that theory as well that NASA is a branch of Bilderberg. They're funded by. See, the thing is, NASA and they're funded by. They're funded by the American government, but there's like 60% of their funding comes from an unknown place.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
NASA is slowly losing a lot though because it's all becoming privatized now. As things become privatized, this is where you're starting to see more and more evidence of stuff being up there that shouldn't be up there.
Yeah, I mean, how can you trust a space agency that spends the equivalent of a Apollo rocket on developing a pen that can write in space when we've already got the technology there because we've got pencils? You know what I mean? It's like, and there was like they developed like this really crazy way that, oh yeah, it was the food that went into space had to be dehydrated and then rehydrated, and it cost them something like 1.2 billion pounds just to develop the technology to dehydrate food and rehydrate food. It is
normally.
Yeah, pack of biscuits.
It is a little bit crazy. But yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Did they land on the moon or not? Let's have a vote in the chat room. Yeah, I want to see who thinks they landed on the moon or don't. Like, we've aired our opinions, we've thrown our ones out there. Next saying they probably capped their pants when they saw what was there. I do believe there is something up there and they do not want us on it. Yeah. I mean, I can go along with Ben's theory that there is a mothership up there. Dave saying
I didn't say one.
It comes down to the whole factor right now. And don't get me wrong, we as human beings have the most craziest imaginations, right? But when you're watching films like Independence Day and Battle for LA and stuff like that, it does make you question whether there is some truth behind it, because all rumors start with truth.
Yeah.
See what I mean? And they're making these films. There's got to be some truth behind them films. There's got to be. Got to be. You know, Independence Day wasn't a hit because it was a really good film, but there's got to be some truth behind it somewhere in there.
I didn't watch Independence Day and think there is truth there. I watched it like, yeah, action, Will Smith.
I watch
films for their, parts of realism. It's escapism. It's like fantasy. I don't think, oh, is this actually happening?
I get that, but then once you get over that whole like, oh right, it's a really good film, you start sitting there and go, can there be an alien invasion? Is it going to happen? It might do. You never know.
I can't remember how young I was when I watched Independence Day, but I really didn't.
I watched Alien, and I actually, for about 6 weeks after I watched Alien when I was younger, I actually believed there was something growing inside me.
Yeah, my dad did that to me. He made me watch Predator when I was 5.
But the thing is, like, whether these things are made up, i.e., like vampires and zombies, people go, it's all made up, so such thing. Vampirism is true, and zombies do actually exist. There is there is a condition that can turn you into a zombie. There's a medical condition that can turn you into a zombie, isn't there?
There's also a drug that's going around in Stoke-on-Trent at the moment that does the same effect.
There's also a fungus that does it.
Yeah, because what is it? Rabies. Rabies has the same effect as like that whole living dead syndrome, doesn't it? This is what I mean. There are some truths behind these things. There definitely is. I'm even I'm sitting here now quite worried. I'm actually questioning it now. What the hell? What have you done to me, you two?
Isn't the new Arachnophobia film coming out?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Ooh. That scared me because I knew spiders were real. I was only, how was I when I watched that? Probably about 8 or 9 when I watched Arachnophobia. That freaked me out. Spiders are real. I've seen spiders. You could do that.
Lou done that thing that it makes me giggle, where people consult their spirit guides when they ask themselves a question. You know, how long was I when I watched that film? And the spirit guide answers. It's brilliant. I do it all the time. I'm like, everyone's like, you talking to yourself? No, I'm consulting my spirit guide. Leave me alone. Jessica says, I do think they went, and part of that, there's more to it, and also that more people have been than we know. Yeah, no, more people have been. They've sent up chinchillas and monkeys and dogs and cats and.
Yeah, you've got the other somewhat unknown conspiracy of like the odd occasional military personnel that turn up claiming they've been part of this space program that's been going on, and there's a war raging on Mars and stuff like this.
Oh yeah, that whole Battlestar Galactica theory. Yeah, I've heard of this. Or Was the whole story of the moon landing completely made up and it's another way to control the population? I don't know. I don't. If a spider picks on Facebook, I can't even touch it. I'm arachnophobic to a degree. If a spider is that big that when I put a glass over it, it sticks its fingers up at me or puts a pair of socks, right? I'm out of it. But 9 times out of 10, if they're only little, I'll just hoover them up. Like, there you go. Go and live in the hoover for a little. I have this theory as well that when you hoover them up, they just sort of like stay in the hoover for a little while. And they sort of sit there for about 45 minutes and they're like, right, it's turned it off now. Right, let's go back to where I was. Because 9 times out of 10, I'll hoover them up. And then about 2 days later, there'll be one in exactly the same place. And it looks the same. I'm swear to you. They're
forget you, Damon.
Yeah, they are. It's a conspiracy in itself.
I'll just glass them and throw them out the window.
Glass them.
Bosh, Dan.
Or pour them in a glass and throw them at people.
Jessica's saying spiders not a problem. Dentists, clowns, and little people have all a big nope. But why little people? What's that about? That's weird. That is weird.
How can you be scared of little people?
How short are little people?
Yeah. There's got to be some
I mean,
sort.
It's Patrick's Day. What if a leprechaun came to you tonight?
I just had this image going in my mind, right? Yeah, of Jessica constantly walking around with one of them things from the theme parks where you got to be this tall to ride, and everyone she walks past, she's like, "Can you stand next to this, please?" And it says, "Can you imagine if things are up there and we send monkeys, etc.? They would think we're stupid." Yeah. Emma's saying, when you say little people, Jessica Frank Miller, what about me? She is tiny. Em's is proper tiny.
Really. What about little people, not midgets?
Yeah. Vertically challenged. We'll have it politically correct on this channel. Thank you very much. I don't understand them, and they're terrified of them. I don't understand. I don't know. There are some really weird phobias out there. There's like, because we look into it on one show like a year ago. We was looking at weird phobias.
One of my favorite phobias is I can't remember the name of it, but it's a phobia of somewhere there's a duck watching you. Genuinely a phobia.
Yeah, there are some weird ones out there. There's a phobia of toenails. And here's a really cool one that I learned, that Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
He had a phobia of germs, and he had a phobia of pearl necklaces. That's a true story. I don't know why. He was really eccentric anyway, so he was a bit of a nutter. But
miles above his station.
Genius, absolute genius. I don't even know he actually worked for Thomas Edison for a period of time in Paris.
Yeah, Thomas Edison stole most of his designs.
Yeah,
if not all.
Really underrated genius. The guy was an absolute genius. Right, so we have come to the end of the show. Now, don't forget, guys, tomorrow night we have a special here on the channel where one of your own will be interviewing myself. I'm first in line. I am the test dummy because Lou and Ben will be after. We'll be doing
first. Well, yeah.
Can I just say that everybody watching this is an idea put forward by Ben. So if it goes horribly wrong, yeah, the only person you can blame is him. But but yes, Kate will be here tomorrow interviewing me at around about 7:30. I think Lou and Jeanette will be going. I think you're going out after that to an investigation, aren't you?
Yeah. We'll all be out.
There you go. So that's something so your Saturday night sorted. So go and get yourself some sweet and salted popcorn, a couple of packs of Kit Kats, and some cherry Coke. Settle down for the night and join us here on The Other Dimension. It'll be a good night. It's like a big event to celebrate Mother's Day. Oh, that's another thing. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, sisters, aunties, and partners. Happy Mother's Day to you, Lou. I'm a believer in Mother's Day. It's a time people go, it's just for mums. No, it's to celebrate the females in your life. That's what it's all about.
There you go, Ben. You can celebrate me.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Big shout.
Tweeted and waited on.
Big shout out
to every other day.
The Hindu going for the party boat. Enjoy yourselves. Yeah. Just don't. I've got this scary thing that have you ever heard of the Marchioness disaster? You never
No.
heard of it? It happened in central London on the Thames. It was a party boat that got hit by a tug. Yeah. Oh, I will not go on a party boat. We're talking about phobias. I got booked when I was younger to DJ on a party boat. They offered me £600 for the night, and I still wouldn't do it just because of that. So it's like I don't do party boats. It's crazy. So yeah, tomorrow night we will have an exclusive. I'll be here doing an interview. We have the Sunday show, the Occult Science show. What are we looking at this week, guys?
Truly, I haven't got the clue at the minute. Been that busy with wrapping things up and stuff.
It's always have a surprise, isn't it? At the end of the day. And don't forget, on Wednesday next week we have the Witch's Closet here on the TOD channel. And this week we're talking about things. Well, not we. Scarlet Witch. We're talking about things that you didn't realise were pagan, like moon landings. There you go. So there's a lot coming on.
How the pagans landed on the moon.
Yeah, it's pagan. I'm telling you, it's pagan. They drew a pentagram in the moon rock. Lance Armstrong done it. Oh God. So yeah, we've got coming up on the channel. So keep it locked here. That's it from us tonight. I hope you're enjoying this one. Don't forget, guys, if you do want to become part of the TOD network, all you've got to do is message us. And we'll get you on. Honestly, if you think it's hard, speak to Freda. She'll tell you it's the transition's lovely. It's brilliant. So if you do want to show on it, just let us know. Apart from that, anything else you guys want to add in? Any shows on the way?
Don't think so, do we? Because we're kind of just
We're turning down towards Zelda.
Yeah, because we're going away soon. So we're gonna have to leave you to it, Damon.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll get I'll just sit here and chat crap like I do normally for like hours on end. I'm pretty good at that. I perfected the art. On Sunday, why not have matriarchal religious beliefs? Plus, is that Times Night Peps? What the hell?
I think it is like the kiss night peeps.
Oh,
guys.
I thought it was some sort of cubic code. I thought she was going for like some sort of Da Vinci code there that I had to like, I don't know.
David, you've got to figure it all out. See what it all means.
Oh, it's like flashbacks from Dante's Inferno. What the hell was? Oh my God, Sarah's just become the new Nostradamus of the channel. That's what it is.
I'm looking to it, Sarah. At the minute, we're trying to wrap stuff up.
Yeah, I might just go to book because that's easy enough to go through.
Yeah, I'm happy to do one in the future.
The occult sciences. You don't really have to plan much for that.
No. I mean, some of the best shows we do are unplanned anyway. So, Emma's saying, "Can we have it simplified so that my drunk, hungover brain can keep up?"
I'll do a show for you on circle, square, and triangle.
Joe, I seriously, I believe Emma's the only person I know that doesn't have a hangover. I've never seen her hungover. I swear to God.
The stories I can tell you.
They were for after the show. Right, guys, we're out of here. So until at the same time next week, we thank you for locking in. My brain has gone completely numb. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's been a long week, so yeah, we're out of here. It's bye from me, and it's bye from Ben and Lou. And always remember, guys, if there's no